Maybe if I ask this question, maybe I look like an idiot.
I think you never find a person magically. You have to keep hustling. You ping, let's say, 10 people somewhere and you get someone. Sometime back, I stopped calling it as an idea and started calling it as a problem. They're stuck in the loop. They're not able to ship consistent, good designs or good products. And we wanted to change that. We wanted to sort of democratize building products. Like we wanted to solve the cold start problem.
Like, what is up with this 75,000 signups, 500,000 queries? Like, what kind of growth hack did you guys do?
On all of the traction we've gotten so far, almost $0 has been spent on marketing. So
I mean, I want to hear your thoughts that, when people say that, new version of OpenAI is like sweeping and putting startups out of business. What would be an idea that you have, but you don't want to work on? Hi, everyone. Hello. And today we have a very special guest, a youngster, very, very, I would say, enthusiastic, motivated, and has a good pedigree of like from coming from BITS, worked at various startups and internships, and also experimented with a whole bunch of ideas and startups, and co-founded a couple of startups maybe during his days at BITS, and we'll talk more about that. And today he's the co-founder and CEO of Figr, which is an AI-based design company based out of Bangalore in India. Uh, so, Moksh, welcome to the show. Would love to learn more about what you're doing right now. But before we go there, want to understand like what does a childhood of somebody who starts a company look like?
mm, thank you so much, Rohit, for having me on the podcast. Um, Coming to your question, how does a childhood look like? Um, I'd say, it's filled with curiosity and it's just filled with questions of how everything works. You look at something and you feel like solving it. You feel like understanding it better. I think my childhood personally, up until my high school, I was not into the entrepreneurship bit, but I was always curious about how things function, how money moves, how a product works. It could be anything, and that is the sort of the curiosity that sparked. And there's also a motivation behind changing the world, not attaching yourself to maybe any particular job or something. And that was also something which was like part of the childhood.
So like was there anything different that your parents or your siblings did during in your upbringing that kind of sparked those curiosity, or was it just inherently part of how you were thinking?
Mhm. I think to the contrary, my parents both are in the service sector. They work for government, and I think to my sibling, I think my brother Kunal, that is where I looked up a lot. He started out his startup back in his colleges and he worked on multiple different ventures. One of them is now uh, acquired by one of the conglomerates in India. So that has always been a source of inspiration for me to look up to him and understand how business works, how real world works, how to handle people, how to manage people, how to solve real world problems and actually make an impact. Um, yeah.
So what was your questions to him during those days when he was running his company? Uh,
Mhm.
like, were you and what was his answer? Like, what was he? Uh, like, I'm curious to know what was his response when you were young and when he was running a company.
I think I was always, just poking him around for all of the different stupid questions, like just out of curiosity, like why would he start up? Why wouldn't he do a job? Why in this industry? He was working in electric vehicle industry in the charging infrastructure space. So I would ask all sort of technical questions as well. How are you tackling this? How do you manage finances? What happens when someone doesn't pay you on time? So all of these smaller questions, I would always just ping him about it and just sort of bother him. But he always answers them in a very calm, in a composed way. Because I think when he was young, he was definitely doing the same thing to someone else, some maybe more experienced founders. I think that is how we, as an entrepreneurs, we learn just by poking around and just sort of quenching that curiosity of us.
So I think this is a very important thing because growing up, a lot of people, I know friends who are like, maybe if I ask this question, maybe I look like an idiot. So did that thought ever run through your mind? What was your answer to yourself?
Mhm. At that point, like now when I think about it, definitely I feel like those were very simpler, easy questions, and I would feel like an idiot. But when you're so young, like I think just having an awareness of, uh, there are types of things, three types of information, things you know that you don't know, and things you don't know that you don't know. And I think when you understand that most of the things out there, 99% of things falls in the third category, that is where you start learning exponentially. Even today, I feel almost all the things I don't even know that I don't know, and that is when you have that sort of self-realization that you need to learn a lot more, and you just have to poke around and ask stupid questions, because that's how you will learn and grow.
Actually, that's a great point that you called out. Is people need I mean people need to think that or be aware that most of us don't know 99% of the stuff that is happening in the world, and be aware and
Mm,
be curious to really learn what is happening in the world.
mm, right.
So I mean, once, let's say, what was your experience like? How did you get into bits? Also that's one thing also I'm curious about.
Mm.
Bits is something that everybody is like, I want to get into bits. So what is your journey to bits?
Um, yeah, it's a typical uh, Indian student where, in your 11th, 12th, you do a grind and you start, I think, preparing for the JEE. It's been a long time, but I think that is how it started out. Everyone wants to go to IITs. Even I had some admits to some of the IITs, but falling short of it, I realized bits is also a very, very good option, given I don't want to go hard into engineering bit. So that is why I went into bits. I think it has been a really, really good, very thrilling experience. There was so many ups and downs, and there was so much learning. The PI group, the whole academia there, the whole infrastructure there, especially to mold entrepreneurs, it's something which is shaping up really well.
So, like, how was getting into the more details of the bits journey? Like,
Mm,
what was your like 4 year time period? What was your extracurricular, co-curricular? I mean, of course,
mm,
we all understand there is the grind of engineering and all of that. But how was your
mm.
experience of like? Was there any exposure to entrepreneurship or like idea building, brainstorming? Uh, Walk us through
Yes,
that
yes.
journey.
Definitely. I think since my first year itself, like the moment I entered BITS, there were so many smaller startups running out just out of dorm room. There was a lot of like BITS in itself has a lot of different clubs, societies, or sort of departments we call them, where these are smaller organizations running into, let's say, there's a Wall Street club, there is an F1 club where you can create F1 cars. Then there is NSS, there's Enactus where you do social entrepreneurship. I was part of a lot of different type of these clubs, from finance to building cars to, let's say, in arts and graphics. That was something which I was heavily involved in, where we used to create very, very big wall panels, paintings, graphic designing, social media marketing, all sorts of stuff. So I think that was a very, very good learning experience. When I think in my second year, I was part of Pepper content as well. It was just, 4 or 5 people. Now it's a very massive Series B C level company, and there were just 4 or 5 founders, 4 or 5 of us, and it was just a dorm room, just a very, very small room, 10 people crammed up into it, and just working out of it, and they then scaled it out of the college. That was, I think, my first uh, experience working at a startup. It was not even a startup at that time, just something that they were trying at. And that was the first bit. The other was definitely these clubs helped a lot. It helps you shape, it helps you manage people, manage teams, build and shape ideas, actually go into the build mode, coding mode, and actually, develop a lot of stuff. And I think the best part, like above all of it, I think the best part about Bits was what made it so special was the people. I met really, really good people that I could learn from, my seniors, my, peers. That was something which was an amazing experience. In college itself, my roommates and, my side mates who lived nearby, uh, with them only I started my first startup when I was still in college. And that was the first stint that we had. In my pre-final year, I started a startup in EV charging infrastructure space where we were building small EV charging pods. And for at that time, for a couple of people who are just like in their 18, 19s, that was a very, very heavy task. We pitched it to the director of BITS. We raised some funding as well. And that whole experience was like very, very, I would say, uh, like it did a very good experience of learning how to build startups. Like the first time founder mistakes that you generally do, all of them we did, and we learned a lot during that process. So, yeah.
So, like, how did you come up with that EV charging? Was it because like what made you guys and
Mhm.
in engineering come
So,
up with an idea for EV charging?
okay. I think so. One of my co-founders, Sarthak, he and my other co-founder as well. All of us were part of this Inspired Carters FS group, where basically we build F1 small F1 cars, and we
Mhm.
actually race them. It's a nationwide competition that happens. And during that period when we were in BITS, there was a transition happening from combustion-based vehicles to electric-based vehicles, so that we can build electric vehicles. And from there, we understood that even right now the like that was back in 2019, and we realized that still the Indian electric EV boom has not happened. People have real anxieties. People have all sorts of different reasons not to adopt to EVs right now. The whole infrastructure is not there. And we realized that the biggest point was definitely range anxiety. People just feel that if I buy EV today, what happens if it stops in the middle way out on a road? So we started out with a very simple idea that we can make EV charging accessible every place. I think a lot of companies have done good. I think Bolt, Electric Pay, they're doing the same idea which we had at that time. And but I think it was like very infrastructure heavy, very operation heavy, and for a couple of folks we were more on the software and the product part of it. So we did execute it to a very good extent, but then all of us decided to drop it.
Got it. Was this anyway inspired by all the ecosystem, like all the things that were happening in the industry around Ether and other
Yes, yes,
startups?
yes, definitely. So um, I think my co-founder at that time, Saket, he also pitched the idea to Ether, and definitely the ecosystem started to build at that point of time. So it was definitely an inspiration. And I think just the timing, and I would say even to some extent the founder market fit was not there. Like I feel uh, one elder generation of people would do, because it's very relationship heavy and it's very sales heavy job rather than a product led company. So that is where I think we could have executed it well, but still it was a very, very good learning experience.
Got it. Understand. So when you, I mean, for people straight out of college, starting companies, everybody, there are a lot of people who talk about starting companies. There is this idea that you need a mentor, you need somebody who can guide you through this path. Like you're building something that does not exist in the market, something that people have not even imagined, and they don't know how to expect for a problem to be solved in this particular manner.
Mhm.
So mentor finding a mentor is the most key, is what people believe. So
Mm.
what is your take on that, on finding a
Right,
mentor uh, to finding success?
right. I think as a founder, you always come across all sorts of problems that you've never solved. Like almost every day, you would find a problem that you have not solved before, and you don't know how to solve it yet. And I think mentors play a good role there where they help you navigate because they've already solved it. Uh, I think uh, rather than relying on one or two, like saying that, you need a mentor to run a startup, I think that's an overstatement. What I would say is, uh, even today, what we do is keep talking to people who are more experienced than us, who have already navigated the industry or their specific domains. Let's say I want some help in sales, maybe in some design expertise, or maybe a second pair of eyes in, how we are moving towards our AI research. So from all of these points, what we generally do and what I've done in the past is work continuously with, sort of with a mini mentorship model where you just go on and bother people the way I used to do with Kunal, my brother. I would do it today with all sorts of experienced founders and just this sort of circle the current problems that I'm having today. Um, there have been some people who have always been constantly throughout with me. That more of just like a place where I can think out loud, just exchange and ideas, what is happening inside it. But uh, this this whole notion of when you face a problem, you go out and actually talk to people who are most relevant in solving it. I think that has worked the best for us.
Got it. Think what you're saying is, if I understand, is instead of having one person, have as many people as possible who are more experienced, who have been there, done that. And when you
Mm,
encounter that situation, go and talk to as many people in that domain, find those
mhm.
expertise, and then get their opinions, and then you make your own decision. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, yes, definitely. So as you said, like as the problems come in, then you start find the relevant people and you just talk to them. And people are more than happy to help because that's how any founder has actually grown in learning from other founders, people who've been there and done that.
Is there a specific situation that you recall that, we encountered this and then we found this person magically, and then things just worked out?
Mm. I think you never find a person magically. You have to keep hustling. You ping, let's say, 10 people somewhere and you get someone. So even recently we wanted to switch our accounting system and I wanted to find a CA and there was some questions in how we are operating in US. So I just pinged 4 or 5 founders who are already operating out of US and just circle the ideas with them and they pointed me to the right direction. So that it happens on almost on a daily, weekly basis that we just go out and see that this is a problem we face today. How do we solve it? Find people who have already solved it and just think what they have to say.
Got it. So, like, moving on to the next part, I would say, like, I see when I mean, your profile, when you say that, various startups you've worked at, and you also talked about briefly uh, on the other startup ideas that you had. Want to
Mhm.
understand, like, let's say you get an idea, like everybody has an idea. So what is your process to validate, is this a good idea for me to work on for the next uh, 6 months or even
Mhm.
1 year or 2 years?
Mhm.
Like, what is your
Mhm.
step by step process that you say that, here is a good idea and here is why I want to work on it?
Right. I think like sometime back, I stopped calling it as an idea and started calling it as a problem. So that's, I think, the answer to your question as well. That you start looking at as a problem that people face. And now once you start looking at as a problem, you stop thinking about the solution. So the first step we do, like I worked on multiple different startup problems. And what I feel is the first step is to understand whether the problem is real or not. How many people face it? How urgent it is? How frequently do they face the problem? How many number of people face that problem? How expensive that problem is? When you go out and just talk to people who are facing such problem, you'll actually understand whether they want it or not. And that is something that I've learned in the past, where rather than just thinking that, in a sort of a shell that, okay, this is the idea that I want to work on, and you build the idea and then you take it to people. Just reverse the whole part. You start thinking of a problem. You validate the problem just by speaking. You don't even have to write a single line of code. Talk to 10, 20 people, see who are actually facing it. They might point you to the right person who's facing it. Then understand from them how big the problem is. And when you have enough conviction that, okay, this is a big enough problem, it's a very urgent problem, and people are uh, in very much pain that this problem isn't solved, then you go out and start building, because you already have the commit from people that, okay, once you build this, you already know that these are the 10, 20 people who are facing this problem. And once you build this, you again show it to the people. Uh, is it solving your problem or not? They say no. Then you go back on the drawing board, you again do maybe another version, and you take it back to them. And I think that is something that I feel the way that, any young founder can look at uh, solving problems rather than just starting up, working on ideas.
So can you walk us through an example, like before Figure, like you took an idea, like what was the process that you just explained, like how was that? How did that look like?
Right, right. Um,
Or
I
maybe
can give
even
you two
Figure, if you
ins.
want to talk about
Yes,
Figure,
yes,
I'm
yes,
fine with that as well.
yes. So I'll give you two examples. One that worked, one that didn't work. So um, obviously with Figure, which worked out well was that even before starting Figure, we talked with all sort of different product people, sort of designers, from indie hackers to head of design with Freshwork, engineering lead at Meta, just to understand how the design process works like. And we started out with just scratching the surface, understanding, there are different parts to design problems. Like communicating what you've designed is a very, very big challenge, why you designed it, explaining your design. Then we realized just after talking to them that, most of the time goes in design research. The first part of the problem where if I ask you to, let's say, build an attendance monitoring tool, or let's say plant watering app, any idea. You will not go in Figma and start designing it. You first talk to users, you do a research, you actually understand what to design, sort of a layout. So all of these problems we uncovered, and the more we spoke with them, we realized more deeper it is on all across all type of product building, from a one-man show to, an enterprise and I Fortune 500 company. So that is how we uncovered these problems. What I think another example what didn't work was like way back before Figure. I think we were working on this idea of dubbing videos. From this was, I think, pre-ChatGPT era, and this was, let's say you have an English video, you can, convert it into Hindi, or let's say Marathi, or any Spanish, any language you want. And this was a common mistake that we made. Like we just started building it. We thought that, people will use it, but we didn't talk to much people that what kind of people will use it. Would it be in classrooms by people? Would it be, let's say, in media training, in employee training? What would be the use case? Who will use it? Why will they use it? What is the problem? Why aren't subtitles a proxy to that problem isn't working yet? So all of this research was very like preliminary done. It wasn't done on a deeper level. And even when we built out the solution, we didn't know where to sell. We didn't know where to take it out. And it became a very generalized solution, which was adopted by very few people. So that was an idea that didn't work out, because if we would have gone out and just talked to 20, 30 people to understand what are the problems they're facing right now with English content and why are they not able to consume it, then the idea would have shaped in a very, very different way. So focusing on problem is something which is very, very, very important in the whole startup journey. I think you should spend consider like there are two spaces, problem space and solution space. And generally, when people describe their startup ideas, they describe what are they building. I think that is a very big problem. You should start with what are you solving? What is the problem that you're solving? And then once someone relates to it, then you talk about your solution. That okay, I'm solving this using this.
That's very
So
fascinating. It's it's not the idea, it's the problem. that's
Yes,
that's
yes,
that's the key.
yes.
Got it. Well, coming to like the journey with Figure, like how did it start? Like how did you find your co-founder? Like
Mm,
what was that initial journey? Like what? How did you? Was it a problem that you personally faced, or did you see somebody with the problem? How did the journey of Figure start? And
right.
before that, like what is Figure in, like, let's say an elevator pitch for somebody who has
Mm,
not yet read about Figure?
right. It's an AI-powered platform helping design teams, product teams ship fast and design good. Like that's the two things that we provide value at. So there's a whole bunch of agents that we're building, but most of the teams are stuck in very slow shipment. They're stuck in not so consistent quality of the design, the user-centered, human-centered design, and that is what we help them do. And there's a lot of solutions we've built that helps them do that. Uh, Coming to, I think your second question was around how we met, how I met Chirag and how we started Figure overall. I think uh, like during the whole the whole journey, I've always been a designer. I've worked with a lot of companies in my free time as freelancer or even as full time, where helping even some YC-backed companies on their product designing. But I've always loved product building, and that is something I feel comes naturally to me. And Chirag, on the other hand, he's been a researcher, ML engineer. He's worked at Myntra before this, with Adobe as well. And both of us, I think, uh, as we were building a lot of different products before Figure, we realized that even though we have this liberty to build quickly and break things, not a lot of teams, not a lot of people actually have that same power to do. They're stuck in the loop. They're not able to ship consistent, good designs or good products. And we wanted to change that. We wanted to sort of democratize building products and building good designs, building good products. So that is how we started out, and with just this simple thought. And uh, I've known Chirag for a very long time. I think when we were back in our second year, we were interning at the same company at the same time. So I've known him since then. I think it's since 2019 or 2020. Yeah. So since then we've known each other, and but like again circle back on a lot of we built out a lot of different ideas, like some of the problems we solved for, and then now I think like 1.5 years back we started Figure with an idea to help everyone ship good designs, and that too very, very fast. And with AI coming in, automation coming in, we feel that a lot of product designers' time goes on a lot of non-creative manual work that they don't necessarily enjoy doing. And if could be somewhat, I wouldn't say automated, but somewhat, done by with an assistance of AI. So that could, fast track the process and save them time to do stuff that actually matters, creative stuff,
Hmm.
doing research, talking to users. And I think they're not able to do that because they're still entangled in a lot of different type of work that they don't enjoy doing. So that is the whole idea behind Figure.
So is because you were a designer personally, you kind of experienced it firsthand. So that's how you came up with the idea in short.
Yes,
Would I
yes,
be
yes,
right
yes.
to say
Because
that?
yes, initially, the idea was even when we started out, the first version of the problem was very, very simple. I think finding good inspiration and good, uh, like we wanted to solve the cold start problem. That when someone starts the design journey, it's very hard to start it from, and you don't know where to double down on, where to like actually get a clarity of thought on what to make. So this is how we started out with design research. That is something that I've always personally faced when I'm building products. That I have a lot of thoughts, but how do you conceptualize it? How do you visualize it into interfaces and into screens? And it was an inspiration tool in the beginning for the first 2 3 months. And my original thought was that if no one, like, we'll start building it. We've already talked to some people, but even if no one uses it, I will use it in my future ventures. So that is how I think building for yourself or something that you can use or you can like reoccurringly use. That is something which is very, very important.
Got it. So, because you kind of experienced it firsthand, so that's how you came up with Figure. Was there a specific pain point, like this is the aha moment as to why we want to spend the next few years of our life working on this idea and building it? Yes, I understand that this is something that you will anyway use it. Was there like
Mhm.
one thing or like couple of things that made you and Chirag say that, this is why we want to work on it?
Right. It's definitely the longer term vision is very big. We want to uh, sort of blur the lines between developers and designers, I think, to help people build fully functioning products. And that not just on a surface level, but very deep products, products like Airbnb or Facebook, something well designed, well curated, a very good experienced product, something that we want people to build. Uh, that is what motivates us. I think we can enable everyone to become a maker, a product maker, rather than just being a designer, PM, or a developer. Uh, but like a specific point where it was a aha moment, I think we launched the first version. Like I think we worked on one for a week and we launched this first version. It was completely free. It was just a curation of a lot of different design resources. You can find them very, very quickly. And At the time it was free, but when you when you wanted to access the resource, it was pay whatever you want. So you can pay $0 and you can access it, or you can pay something and you can access it. And instantly we saw that within, I think, 48 hours we received, it was a very small amount, but we received around $250 within just 48 hours for a free product, which made us realize that there is something there. Like people are willing to pay for a free product, which they can get for free, which was very weird to us. That why are they paying? But when we spoke with them, we realized that it's a big problem. They are not able to find really, really good resources where they can edit them, where they can mix and match. And that is how we thought that, okay, this might be worth solving for, because the problem might not be faced by a lot of designers at that point, but it's an urgent and big enough problem right now for the few set of people who face it.
That's actually very interesting. Is maybe a tool that somebody could use is, if you think that there is value, just put it out there and see what the market or the people have to say. uh, and if
Definitely.
people definitely see value, then even though you put it out for free, then people are still ready to pay for it, and that is kind of
Mm,
also another way to validate the thesis, right?
mm.
So I mean, when somebody starts a company, they always think about this incremental versus 10x value. So, so I'm pretty sure that you guys have already thought through this. Like, can you walk us through an example of what is the 10x value through an example for Figure?
Okay, so a 10x value, uh, I have some screens that I generally show
Sure,
to people.
let's
Just
see that.
give me a this. So just a second. So yeah, this is one of the examples, I think, where we see that the current life of any product designer is very, very fragmented. We see that there's a lot of data points which affects your final product being built. Uh, it could be from user research to design system, like how your components and styles actually live, to creating wireframes, creating sketches, then mood boards, user flows. There's a whole lot of things that affect your product design in the end. Uh, and we feel that like there are a lot of different products out there, from Miro to Figma to even Dribbble, Behance, but it's very, very fragmented out there, and there's a lot of back and forth. There's a lot of time that is taken up, and the biggest problem we feel is that there's no intelligence built yet. Imagine if, as a product team, I have an onboarding flow, and I see that's on the third. screen there is a drop off. Let's say when I enter my phone number and see the OTP, there's a drop off in the people who are signing up. So that, like, just by analyzing the analytics, by analyzing the screens, there could be like a few, 4 or 5 reasons why the user is dropping off. And maybe there's some very small things we can do. Maybe make the button more evident. Maybe uh, understand then the value of the app forefront. So all of these are like very small examples, but the point is the intelligence is not yet built. Like the product manager or product team has to go in and actually understand how the product is working, how the product is not working across different platforms. Then they have to change it, uh, then design it, then ship it. The whole uh, process of building a good product experience is very, very long. It's very stretched out. It's not at all optimized. And that is where, we as Figure come in. So we combine all of the data resources. We build an intelligence on top of it to help you build prototypes, help you build high fidelity wireframes, help you build design systems, help you do user research, everything that is written here. So that is something that we enable people to do. And the whole process becomes almost 20 times faster. Very smart recommendations just by analyzing your data, like how your product is behaving right now, what are your analytics right now, what are users saying right now. You can upload your user transcripts, you can upload your user data to understand how where the user is feeling, how the interfaces are working, and the whole wireframes. Like it's very very simple to build. We give alternates as well. We give different forms where you can like we put your design language on top of the wireframes as well. The whole process is very much for non-initiated designers, people who are not designers but want to design, have a good taste. They can also use Figure. But at the same time, professional designers can also use Figure to go deep into the research process, see what is working, what is not working. And there's a last piece to it, which we're still working on, which is design to code, where we also help you ship the whole process, whatever the product is, like we help you ship the product much, much faster with a very good production quality code. Um, so
Got it. So I think want to also understand like what does somebody need to provide as an input here?
right. So as an input, we have like integrations with Figma. We understand your live website as well. But as an input, you can start with a simple prompt, but generally we don't advise that. You can input your analytics, your user, as I said, like your user interviews, any sort of input that affects your product decision, the way that your product is going to build, you can input that. So the more input you give, the better we are able to understand your context. It could be a user flow, it could be an existing interface, and the better we are able to suggest edits on them.
So basically, like who is the user, analytics of let's say the flow, and then the Figma file. So once you
Mm.
give as much of data, so basically you're able to tell them what is a good experience and what is the user actually perceiving during this entire journey.
Yes, yes. So we do this user testing as well. Let's say you've built a design. So how your persona will react to the design before even developing it, before even shipping it to the real user, you can do that synthetic user testing as well. So there is a host of different AI agents. So one of them will build a wireframe for you. One of them will build a design system for you. Design system is nothing but your branding guidelines and your components, so reusable components that you use. Then you can do synthetic user testing, then you can do final UI designing as well. Then you can build your prototypes. So these are different parts of a workflow of a designer, and these are different things that you can do with Figure.
Got it. So I think this part is very valuable. I can tell you from my experience is this shift left strategy and designing,
Mm,
and especially with Android and iOS applications, it's like
mm,
you make a change, like release a build, put it on the App
mm,
Store, Play Store. It takes like weeks, sometimes months
mm,
for somebody to pick up the update.
mm,
The I mean, the impact is very huge, I would say. uh,
Mhm.
because any mistake, or you would say, I mean, I don't want to call it a mistake, but I'm looking for the right word, but any change that you want to do after the app is rolled out into the Play Store or App Store,
Mhm.
it costs time and money, because you need to do rework the design. You have to change the design, build it, send it to the Play Store, and then people have to update whenever they're on Wi-Fi. Automatically, Play Store and App Store have their settings set that, only on Wi-Fi you update my apps. So
Mhm.
I think
Okay.
the problem that you guys are addressing can really help even the whole release cycle, and make sure that they're making better decisions when it comes to rolling out updates.
Definitely. I think every product out there, it's in a sort of a life cycle of iterations. With each iteration, it improves until it reaches product market fit, until it reaches critical mass. And the the way that even you pointed out, it's a way to look at it is that with Figure, you can reduce the number of iterations to reach that critical mass, to reach that product market fit. And you can build great products which resonate with people, which are actually solving good problems faster. So that is something, a good value proposition for Philip that we have.
All right. Moving on. So, want to understand, like, what is up with this 75,000 signups, 500,000 queries? Like, what kind of growth hack did you guys do to find this kind of traction? Because distribution is one thing. Like, companies like always like struggle. Like, how do you say that, we are out here,
Mm.
we're building this, and how did you get traction?
Right. Uh, uh, so first of all, on all of the traction we've gotten so far, almost $0 has been spent on marketing. So we haven't like really kicked in the paid marketing parts yet. Uh, One thing that worked really well with us was just piggybacking on the Figma ecosystem really well. So Figma has its own community, and we launch a lot of different plugins, a lot of different resources, sort of free resources, what people can leverage. And what we do is that in those free resources, we then integrate deep links to redirect to our products. So that is something which has worked really well. So understanding where your users currently are. So we not just go on to Figma communities, we do a very unconventional growth mapping where we try to understand where designers already spend most of the time. So it can be Dribbble, it can be Behance, it can be Pinterest. So these are design social medias where people post out different resources, and this is where these platforms acts like a Google search for designers. If you want to find something, you go onto these platforms, similarly to Figma community. And we flooded them with designs that you can generate with Figure. And we tell them that if you want to build something similar, you can use products by Figure. So that was definitely very helpful. We saw a lot of traction from there. And then I think uh, organic word of mouth has also been really strong for us. We've been covered by really good designers, design influencers, free of cost so far. And I feel in that front, what people always want to share good, unique tools that they've found, sort of like a finder's fee, and they take pride in sharing that. And when we saw that one influencer or one person is sharing, good designer shares it, automatically a lot of different people share it on the social platforms. So that organic growth has also kicked in really well. Definitely then the usual stuff of optimizing SEO, uh, going into communities, different communities on, let's say, Reddit, Discord, and just talking about the product, talking about the problem that people are facing and what the product can help them achieve. So that has definitely helped us a lot.
So I have two follow-ups to that.
Mm.
Um, One is, I mean, rather, I want to understand, like, just make sure that I understand is build things that are actually useful, like a freemium model that and go
Mm.
to places where the community is already spending time, and
Mm.
build tools that are useful to them, and then see how you can drive traffic to the real, like the actual product, and see if you can get usage. Is that the freemium model that you're trying to experiment with?
Yes, so this was some time back. I think now we are targeting more of business teams, like some bigger teams who are working on more complex products. And this was our earlier initiative of product-led growth, where we see a lot of people adopting the product. And now, once we see that, okay, some of the people are working at some bigger companies, we reach out to them and see if we can get their whole team adopted to the product or not. You have some different offerings for the teams, and this is more for individual designers, freelancers, smaller designers working at smaller startups. And that is where we saw very, very good traction from. And as you summarized well, that for any growth hack, for any company, I feel the first thing you should do is assess where your target audience lives, where they're spending the most of their time. It could be any platform, it could be Instagram, it could be Twitter, it could be a very unconventional startup place. Let's say it could be any meetup, physical meetup, or a conference. We have to first find where is it that they spend the most time, and where do they go to solve the problem that you're solving. What are the proxies they're using? So we saw that people spend a lot of time on Figma community, Dribbble, and maybe on Discord on these communities talking to other people. So that is where we flooded our designs with. And we don't do like traditional social media marketing yet. We tried it as well, but it didn't work out that well as compared to these unconventional channels.
Got it. I mean, you kind of briefly mentioned SEO. I mean, this is probably a curveball, but I mean, in the new age of AI, this is my curiosity: is
Mm,
how does somebody do SEO, right? Because there are people are going to Perplexity or a GPT or a Grok and then
mm,
searching. How does SEO work in that new age of AI? Just
right.
I just want to hear your
Just even sometime back, I was also very curious. I think something that we have done, I think most of the companies are doing as well, is this LLM.txt where uh, it makes the LLMs parse your website more efficiently, more quickly. So that is one thing which a lot of people are adopting. Earlier, they used to have similar files for web crawlers, for search engine indexing. That is one. But I think definitely it's an unknown territory of how the SEO will change because uh, like we are used to finding links as we do a query. Now we're just getting adopted toward the model where we just find the right answer instantly. And there are
Hmm.
smaller references, but user doesn't need to go through like dozens of pages of your blog index with like very keyword stuffed uh, article, and then at some place maybe the actual answer is hidden. Definitely, that's a very optimized way to finding information, and that is going away. So we don't even have very high hopes with SEO. Like we do that because still, like I would say, 80-90% of the traffic is
Bill comes
still
from
on
Google.
the Google, then and all of these platforms. But as the shift happens, it would be interesting to see how people leverage uh, the new age of SEO with, I think, with LLMs. Because references is also something which is very important. Like if an LLM is the reason why Perplexity works so well is because it gives smaller references on where it is indexing the information from. So I think quality content that actually gives information upfront will matter more than just keyword stuffing.
So that's probably an interesting idea for somebody to work on and solve a problem for everybody, I guess. The how do you do SEO in the new age
Mm,
of AI and LLM?
right. I think.
Yeah, so I mean, moving on to the next part, which is, I mean, specifically for in the AI space and the whole of generative AI, which is kind of taking everybody, like surprising us every quarter or every new release of all these models.
Mm,
I mean, I want to hear your thoughts that, when people say that, new version of OpenAI is like sweeping and putting startups out of business. Does it ever keep you awake in the night thinking that what is OpenAI or all these models coming up with that is going to change or like disrupt this industry?
mm,
What are your thoughts about it?
right. I think uh, for us, generally, we are not that like stressed about it because There are two sides to any AI product. One is the outcome, what you're generating, that is usable by the user. But the other side is the experience of generating it, the experience of, let's say, understanding the context, navigating through the problem, and then finally generating the output. So, uh, in the end, definitely OpenAI or ChatGPT, for that matter, is a product company. They're building a foundational model. And it's not just OpenAI, it's all different sorts of companies, Anthropic, Grok, Perplexity. They're doing really, really good job, or even DeepSeek now. Uh, Many of them are foundational LLM models, but they're also building a product on top of it. But the problem that uh, I see with them, at least as of now, is that they're right now building for masses. They're building for all the people, and the product experience is very generalized. And to build that for product building, like what we are doing, like product UI UX designing, that needs very fine tuning, very nuances that people want. Let's say how the interface will look like. It's not exactly code. How do you move, let's say, a box 8 pixels up? If you want to change that, you wouldn't want to prompt it in a box, right? That experience is broken. So all of these smaller nuances we're building so that we can make our product experience 10x better. So getting an outcome is much faster. And because you build that sort of experience around the outcome, getting the outcome is faster, but you're also able to generate the outcome better because we understand your context, we already understand your analytics, we already understand your current interfaces, what version of your product is live in front of users. All of these data points, we understand it better. And with these general models, you have to again and again explain to them that this is a problem you're solving. You have to keep giving them the context, the same context again and again. So unless and until they optimize for those specific problem statements, uh, until then I feel that most of the product companies are safe. But true, many a times overnight, we've seen many startups get killed by OpenAI or some other like even Anthropic and other. Uh, I think in that case, I feel the analogy that works is similar to, I feel, that iPhone moment. That there was App Store that was launched by Apple, but they also started building apps, some very essential apps. For example, a calculator, a weather app, a stock app, maybe a news app, right? So in the end of the day, the OpenAI is enabling. It's a platform which enables other companies to build apps on top of it. But at the same time, they will build some core fundamental experiences, product experiences. They will optimize for, let's say, generating code, maybe copywriting, maybe some other experience, which is very fundamental. Uh, but the way we think about it is that we have built a very deep experience around that outcome. So even if a new model comes in or something else comes in, the way we are using the model, the way we are using the data or the inferences around how to generate the outcome, it's very nuanced. It's very complex. So we use a lot of different foundational tech as well, where the way we generate the outcome is the best in class. You cannot just prompt it on OpenAI or some places and generate that. There's a lot of context of the user that goes in. So how deep that experience is will, I think, keep you safe for a very long time. And you keep building that experience much more deeper. You make that more uh, like a faster version, a better version to like get the outcome. And that is the way that you can differentiate from a generalized model.
Got it. I think what you're saying is go deep so that for people who are like horizontal, you're so deep that you understand your vertical, you're the expert in that vertical. So that is your X factor that will keep your business going. Um,
Definitely.
so the domain that you guys are working on is creative, right?
Mm.
Like there is a lot of creativity, and I mean there is technology, there is science to it, but there is a lot of creativity and there's also art involved. So how are you kind of balancing, or what is your take on, like, how is uh, Figure helping or driving this creativity along with art and science and all of that, and putting all of that, let's say, because the reason I'm asking you this question is, there are colors, there are visuals, there is data of analytics that's coming from different places, which is like
Mhm.
retention and all of that. So how are you, like, how is the tool, or how did you, what do you guys imagine that uh, how Figure is helping or driving this whole ecosystem and balancing AI or technology versus creativity, in short?
Right. I think uh, even when you look at aesthetic, like there's a lot of subjectivity to it, but at the same time, there's a lot of objectivity to it as well. Uh, so I feel the judgment or the taste of the designer, the person, the human who is actually using the product will matter a lot. So that is where we are like the next generation of designers will have to, adopt to, where they have a finer taste, they have a finer judgment. And when they have a deeper expertise on what looks good, what doesn't look good, what will work with the user, what will not work with the user, their ability to guide AI will increase multifold. A new designer who doesn't know why this screen is better, it has less cognitive load, less information load. The re when they don't know the reason to it, they will not able to make AI understand where to focus and how to reduce it. So we feel that, with Figure specifically, we give a lot of different alternates. We give a lot of sort of options where you can input all of this data so that you can make a better judgment. And in the end of the day, still where our industry is right now, it's still 60-70%, sort of done with AI. But there's a lot of complex problem solving. There's very, very massive flows. You have to optimize for very little things. So right now, the human is involved a lot, and I think they will continue to do so. But that judgment is something which drives the creativity now. Because with the newer models, you would see GPT-4 with Mid-Journey as well with DALL-E, you would see that, you know, the what you can generate is getting democratized. But still, in the end of the day, what you choose to generate is something is still in your hands. What you choose to publish is still in your hands. So how do you prompt the AI? How do you guide it to the final output is something which will drive the creativity. That taste is something which is very hard to teach to an AI or to any model for that matter. And that is where that human intervention comes in, that knows what will connect best with other humans.
So now I'll ask you the most controversial question. Will Figure ever replace a human designer?
I personally don't think so, that we will replace a good product designer. I think it's very hard to do. It's underlooked what all product designers actually do, from talking to users, UX research to UI designing, design system management. There's a whole different workflow. Then once you're designed, you're actually communicating it to stakeholders to get a buy-in that whether it is designed, is it achieving the product metrics or not. There's a whole sort of responsibilities for the product designer. I feel what we can help them do is enable them to spend time on what matters the most. I'll give you an example. Let's say, you're moving layers, you're pushing pixels, and uh, you, you're doing stuff that might be a bit non-creative, that might be, not worth your time, maybe for a senior designer, making things in auto layout or like uh, setting up tokens. Like these are technical terms in product design that people do, which generally they don't enjoy doing. Uh, if that part of the process is automated or it's just AI assisted, maybe 10 hours reduces to 2 hours, then that time is freed up to actually spend time on much more creative and problem solving part. Where let's say you have more time to talk to users and do a research before getting started with design. You have more time to gather insights on what actually needs to be built. Once you build it, you now have more time to actually take it to users and test that whether what I've built is good or not. So that is where we are freeing up time on that creative part of it, as well as on the problem solving part. But overall, I feel it's a very, very long way on replacing product designers, because if you would see, the moment any job that involves intra like which involves a part where you have to dis either interact with another human, you have to assess how you interact with other humans. That is where AI doesn't come in well. That is where human will always be needed. Same goes with interface designing, where the interface you're designing, a human in the end of the day will interact with it. So you know best how humans work, how other humans work. And for a very long time, I think, that is, it's very valuable. It won't be replaceable.
Got it. I think what you're saying is it will only augment and give them increase productivity, give them more ideas, help them do their work faster, better, cheaper, uh,
Mm.
and achieve their goals quicker. Got it. So, also, I mean, let's come to the challenges, right? Because when it comes to design specifically, right? So there are a lot of places where people do different things, and also in the space that you're operating, we talked about it, right? So there's data from analytics coming in, there's people who are doing designs in Figma or like any other places. So what what were the challenges, or what are the challenges when it comes to like integration of all these different tools in the ecosystem basically?
Right, right. I think even previously the slide that I showed you, where the data lives at a lot of different places, and many times it's not even documented properly. What is this data? This is basically any data point which affects your final product, or it's a data point which affects in the decision of how the product will evolve. And uh, we are building a lot of different integrations with Figma, with analytics tool. You can just input your raw data in forms of PDF, CSVs, uh, just simple text. I think there's a long way to go, because much of the data is a lot more visual. So we are starting to do a web crawl where we understand and assess your current live application. So these will become really, really important to our ecosystem, because the more we understand about the context of a product, like why it exists, who is it solving for, what does the user journey look like, the better we will be able to solve for you, the better we will be able to give you suggestions on what can be changed or what needs to change and how it can change. So that ecosystem is still in works. I feel there's not much challenges around it. The major problem, I feel, it's much of a time problem. That with time, more relevant integrations will be built, and actually making sure that the data used properly. Like even if today on day zero we build all of the different integrations and we ask user to input all of the data and how the product, like the data points that affect the product. The problem will come in is actually finding the most relevant information from the like a haystack of data to
Hmm.
actually then impact a product. And that is what we're working on the best, to find it's not the quantity but the quality of data, that the relevance of the data which matters the most. And that is the challenge that we are facing right now with and that is the challenge which very, very big companies are also facing. Like the biggest companies who, for example, let's say Adobe or some other company which have been working, well, like a legacy company which has been working for a very long time, they have accumulated a lot of data. Obviously, there are legalities around how much you can use it, what you can use it. But in AI training and AI research, we've seen that it's not about the quantity, it's about even smaller set of data, but a quality which is relevant to the model is something which is much, much important, more important than just the sheer volume of it. So that is what we are building towards, where even when the user inputs like a lot of data points, finding the relevant points to assess and like data points to assess what an actual human would do, and see how this can impact the current problem that the user is solving for.
Got it. So what I think what you're saying is instead of having like a zillion integrations and just get data dumped from everywhere, just think about what the quality of the data that will actually make an impact,
Mhm.
and like how humans think. And given that you guys have proper design background, so you know what really makes or cuts the mark. So that's where you're working on some of the integrations.
Yes. Yes.
So, I mean, moving on to the business, right? So that's where personally very exciting to me. So, I mean, you guys, this is a first like a funded startup. Is that would I be right to say that like a proper VC funded company that you guys are starting?
Yes. The
Or
earlier company we had, it was a very less amount we raised. But yes, this is a proper VC funded startup. Even the
yeah, so
investors are living here.
yeah, so want to understand, like, given that was your first time raising funds with like a VC company, like, and this was before you even had the product, right? So it was probably on a, uh, maybe I would want to understand, was it on a piece of presentation that you raised the funding, or was it an MVP or an MLP that you had built and had some
Mhm.
traction and then raised it? So, how did you do that, and what was that journey look like when you raised the $2.25 million dollars?
Right. So, so before the 2.25 round, we raised about 250K from Antlers. So that was four figure. That was the first round of funding, and definitely that was also. Uh, I think in today's world, nothing like very few founders are able to pull off funding on a piece of paper, because building products has become so easy, building MVPs have become so easy, and it's the best way to validate an idea if you're in a SaaS industry. So we built out an MVP. We had a good traction at that point, and the major thing at that point was problem validation. That I think what at pre-seed level even investors look at is that the problem that you're solving is real and is big enough. That is the first point they look, and we proved it with the traction and with the deep research about the problem. The second point I think that they look for is it the right set of people to solve this problem? Once they're convinced on the problem that yes, this is big enough, there could be a unicorn or something big can be made out of it. Then the second thing is, are you the right people and why are you the right people? And I think both of the points worked in our way. And we had good founder market fit. We understood the market really well, the whole product building process. And at the same time, we showed it with deep research and sort of an MVP with some traction on it.
So, how much time was it like when you had from the pre-seed to when you started pitching for a seed round to actually closing the round?
From pre-seed to seed round,
No, no. I
so
mean, just like when you had when you were ready to raise the seed funding, and when you started
mm,
looking to actually closing the seed round.
it was relatively less time. I think everything was done under 45 days. Like generally at seed round, we had like four or five conversations with one investor, and like these are each with each conversation it gets deeper and deeper. But with the seed round, the like we only started pitching when we were confident. So you don't have to be very early in the market, and you don't have to. I think as a founder, don't entertain a lot of investors when you feel you're in the build mode. So even when investors used to reach out, we just said that we're in a build mode. We are, showing it to users, we're selling it, and when we are ready, we will come to you automatically. And once we were ready, we knew we had good traction. We had a good number of people coming in. There was good retention. They were using it again and again, and there was actually real value being delivered. Uh, then we started the whole pitch process.
Got it. Does it happen like Shark Tank? Uh,
No, 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 no. I think Shark Tank has given a very distorted conception of how funds are raised. It's usually never a pitch. Like even when other founders come to me, my advice would be it's more of a conversation, the one that we're having right now. The person in front of you is actually not a shark. They are just a human. They are trying to understand your business. And it will take a couple of conversations to understand the business, why you're doing it, what motivates you, all sorts of different questions. They're just trying to understand, and they are also trying to assess whether they are the right fit to invest in you or not. Many times, a particular VC does not have a deep industry background into what you're building, and they might not be able to add value, or they might not understand it fully. So it's not maybe because your startup is not doing well or because of you that they pass. It's just that they are aware enough that they want to skip for now. So it's more of a conversation, like series of conversations rather than a pitch.
Got it. Got it. So people should think more about like what problem they're solving, rather than like preparing like a huge business plan document, rather
Mm,
than think about like what problem they're solving, have
mm.
answers to those questions, rather than uh, thinking about building a huge like 60-70 page like a business plan document. Would that
I
be
think
right?
almost, yeah, I think almost all of the forecasts and the business plan has never been followed. Like they're just there to so that you can build it and own your Excel skills. Uh, it like even at Figure, it's there to see that how the company can progress, but definitely like the whole nature of startups are so volatile. Even a good investor knows that it will change. It's bound to change. So
So you guys are based out of Bangalore. Um, uh, what made you think about it? Like, what do you? Why did you choose Bangalore?
right, I think my co-founder here was already here. He was working at Myntra for 2 years. And I was working actually out of Delhi, and I wanted to come to Bangalore always. It has obviously a better ecosystem. There's so much more founders here. You connect uh, with them on events on different places. Definitely a very, very good place amongst the top in India to start a company. Um, but I still feel like it's still like the place doesn't matter that much though. It's about the founders. It's because we are living in a very digital world. You can get on a call with anyone on a Zoom or a Google Meet. So, but at the still same time, the ecosystem helps. Uh,
So, I mean, how do you think? I mean, from the business side, right? So maybe doubling down, going back to that. How do you think about competition, right? So now that you also talked about building an MVP, building a product has gotten so much more easier and faster and better. Do you like?
mhm.
Do you keep track of competition? If so, like how do you do? How do you guys keep yourself ahead of the other people?
Right. Uh, See, definitely now the way that AI is changing, and every 2, 3 months something new is coming up, something completely revolutionary is coming up. So we are generally tracking how the whole AI industry is moving, what are the new models, what are the new research, what is something that maybe we can leverage or learn from. Uh, we do look at the competition. There are very few companies out there who are actually doing it. There are definitely some legacy companies like Adobe, Figma out there. But at the same time, some new startups every then and now, coming up with different ways to solve similar problems. But what we feel is that we found a niche. The way that we're solving it is very, very different. It's very, very complex in nature, the problem that we are solving. So it needs a very simple solution. And to build that, it does take time. So we haven't seen a major competition creep up and doing something similar to what we're doing yet. Uh, but we do look at different ways. It's a sort of a different tangent, but uh, the way we interact with AI, the whole user experience of it is also changing a lot. And that is why I look at a lot of different products because we are in the UI interface industry where we are also helping. new modern companies define their user experience. So
Mm-hmm.
the more companies come in, we are assessing them to see how their UX pattern, the user experience pattern is evolving, and what are the new innovations happening in there. So an example would be you might have seen a deep research part in all of the newer models. And a very, very small example, but you would see that earlier a loader would be just, a circle moving around. But now with these LLM models, they show a thinking that like what is actually happening behind, and it keeps you engaged. Many times the thinking is an output, and then there is
Mm-hmm.
another output that is thinking out loud. It's actually hearing to some human think and then finally giving an answer. So that is a very new UX pattern that, very, very quickly all of us got adopted to. Right now, if an AI model takes 5 minutes to answer a question, but it shows me the thinking process, I'd be okay with it because I'm reading the thinking process. I'm actually engaged with it. There might be some insights there. Earlier, if it was just a loader rolling out, I would probably close the tab 6 months back. So these are smaller things that we keep noticing. These are not direct competitions, but we see how these are evolving. And overall, we also keep track of how these general models are evolving so fast. It would be very exciting to see how, where the saturation hits and uh, like are we actually moving towards AGI. That's a very far-fetched goal, but let's see what happens there. Yep.
Yeah, it's actually very interesting, like how you notice the whole thinking part. I mean, only when you kind of talked about it did I think about that's a new UI pattern. Yeah,
Mm,
I mean, like now before we all used to like, I mean, we used to say uh, s- the spinning wheel of death. That's what it used to be called, right? And now we
right.
have this thinking, and everybody is just okay with like watching AI think,
Mm,
and that's actually a new design pattern for sure. Uh,
mm,
yeah, that's very interesting. Uh, have you ever like thought about can like maybe like a for this is for any startup, right? Which is some like a big company will always have they have money, they have people, they have the brand, they have everything, right?
mm,
Pretty much that you want to think about. Um,
mm.
what would like why wouldn't somebody like Figma do it? Why wouldn't like somebody like an Adobe do this? Have you guys ever thought about this?
Definitely. Like I think almost all of our investors ask that, and it and not just us, any startup, any new startup coming up, they always have a risk from Google, Meta, the biggest players in the world. And see, in the end of the day, what protects us is the speed at which we operate, the grit at which we operate. It's just pure speed. As the team expands, there's so many people working on it. The decision making slows down, the execution slows down, and there's also a risk that increases. Right now, if we ship something which doesn't work, we'll be okay with it. There's like less number of people looking at us. But with Figma, I remember they rolled out some AI version, I think 1 year back, and they have to pull it back because there was some legal issues with some copywriting or something or the other. And the reason is like, we can like uh, we have a very strong policy of how we use the data. It's all open source, but still, like my point is, when Figma does it, so many people look at it that they had to roll it back. So for them, the stakes are even higher. The speed again slows down a lot. So that is definitely one part. The other is specific to the product that we are building in the UI UX doing. Uh, I feel Figma has done a lot for the industry. They have actually innovated with coming with collaboration features, real-time collaboration, which was unthinkable at times. They did a lot of innovations from with GL to other technologies, which did not exist, just to make Figma happen. And now, uh, with the new AI features coming in, even with Figma, I think they're sprinkled over, but they're not deeply integrated. They're not AI native product. And I feel
Mhm.
the way Figma reimagined the product design process, someone else might have to do that. Even Figma can do that, but they might need to create a new product altogether because inside Figma, they're so like people are so deep into the workflow challenging that status quo and breaking that bias will, from an inside of Figma, would might take a lot of time, and they might need to create a new product altogether, which is catering to, uh, which is built natively with AI, which is catering to the new age of designers. So I think that is where we come in, with that speed, with that execution, with that outsider bias, outsider view to break the bias is where Figure comes in from.
Very interesting answer, because this is, as you said, this is a question for every startup. I was curious to see what was your take on it. I think moving fast, uh,
Mm,
having no bias, understanding the domain very deep, and build for them
mm,
specifically.
mm,
All right. So then moving on, I mean, this is one thing that I've seen with founders now that I've worked with founders for quite some time, is when you're working and building a startup, they have more ideas to work, and they come across
mm,
ideas because they're working with a lot of other smart people.
mm,
Like, I know we discussed about it. You had a couple of ideas that we kind of brainstormed. I mean, this is like, what would be an idea that you have but you don't want to work on? That was what we were discussing, and we wrote down media engine. You want to
mm.
tell more about that?
Yeah, definitely. I think with content creation has always been fascinating to me, how any piece of content is created. There's a lot of storytelling, there's a lot of taste involved in it. And whether it could be writing a piece of article, whether it could be a video, a film, it captivates the human imagination. You can, make them go anywhere you want. And I feel with AI coming in, content creation has been on a boom. There's so much AI generated content out there. I feel good quality content is still missing. And if someone comes in, creates, let's say, a workflow of text generation, let's say, even if this podcast is there, you can repurpose the content so many times with AI. You can create smaller reels out of it. You can maybe create some blog posts out of it, maybe some smaller posts on Instagram out of it. So that repurpose is there, but creating content from scratch across different verticals. It could be any vertical. For example, sports, sci-fi, science, uh, politics, news. It could be any particular domain, entrepreneurship, right? And you can target multiple domains at the same time. And at the same time, different platforms. So, for example, you can do it on Instagram, YouTube, long form text format, maybe a podcast version of it. The essence is that the taste and the quality is still missing. And if someone comes in and creates a workflow, and definitely a human intervention will be needed, but this whole massive uh, engine of content can be built, and you can distribute it on different platforms out there.
So you're saying, take this podcast, feed it into a tool that should basically generate clips, articles,
Mm,
Instagram reels, or like YouTube shorts, and basically
mm,
be able to distribute across wide variety of platforms, and
mm.
that should be the
Yes,
goal of the tool. Is that what you're
yes,
saying?
and yes, and uh, what I feel is that yes, definitely you can build the tool, and at the same time, there could be someone else who can build a media company altogether out there. So,
Okay.
for example, uh, there are some very traditional companies like BuzzFeed, Vox, or media companies are using these tools to distribute the content, good content that people engage with. So you can build a media company altogether, which, let's say, has a host of different uh, sub brands for that matter, which are, let's say, working on again different domains. Let's say one is in the football, one is in cricket, one is in entrepreneurship, one is in sci-fi, one is in scientific discoveries. And you can keep on churning out different content across platforms from these many brands. And on top of it, you're sitting with a media company. Uh, I think some people are trying to do that, but with some faceless content and things going on. But the quality, I think, is still not there. Someone with a fine taste understands how humans interact with stories and content can do a really good job.
Got it. Got it. I think the next one that you had on the list was commoditized health monitoring. Very, very
Mhm.
different to what. we talked about all this while. What is that?
Right. I think this is something which is very close to my heart, where I feel, uh, health tracking is something which right now is being enjoyed by the top 1%. There are different health monitors. For example, the best example is Apple Watch. Then there is a Whoop band, or let's say, Ultra Human Ring. And these are expensive solutions, but the key thing that they provide is understanding how your body is behaving. It goes beyond sleep. How your heart rate is measuring, what was the stress levels. And I feel that there's some sort of innovation that can happen there as well. Like,
Hmm.
rather than just sleep tracking, it can tell you about how your body is functioning, like what is happening inside your body, which then enables you to take some action on it. I feel
Hmm.
that is something which can be enjoyed by a lot more people than it is today. And the social impact of it would be very large. Once we share this technology with a large set of people, I think that would be very, very helpful to the whole society as a whole. Yeah.
So would it be like somebody like a Bolt in India who is like kind of commoditized the whole watch, like the smartwatch industry coming from Apple Watch? Is that
Mhm.
something that you are thinking?
Yes, yeah. See, with Bolt, I think they have packaged it in a way of like a watch plus some sort of health monitoring. I feel if it is just dedicated health monitoring, that would do as well. Like it could be a small thing, maybe something you plug in or something that you can attach to your body. It could be a ring, a band, something or the other. That form factor needs to be obviously innovated on. But just pure health tracking, no other agenda, no other thing. Just really, really good tracking on what is happening inside your body so that you can know in advance, let's say you're not feeling well, your body temperature is high. It's very deep, it's actually science-backed, and it can tell you in advance about what all actions you can take, improve your health. What you should eat, let's say, or what exercises you need to do that I feel is still missing. And a lot of people just are in a curious mode on, they didn't sleep right. They're waking up a bit fuzzy. They just don't know what happened. Maybe, last night they had a lot of stress, or maybe they didn't sleep well. Maybe something or the other was there. Uh, that I think that just form of self-awareness would do wonders for people who are actually serious about their health. And it would also allow more people to become health conscious because it gives people a tool to understand about their health.
So you're saying more scientific, but just uh, health first rather than gadget first kind of an approach,
Yes,
which kind
yes.
of looks at all the different body parameters, helps you kind of say that you have not done much of your workout. Maybe you should go for a jog.
Mhm,
Telling you that your vitals may be changed because probably your oxygen level has changed for the last few weeks. You probably want to do some meditation or like pranayama or some breathing exercise, something like that, right? Is that what you're thinking?
yes, yes, yes. I think that would do wonders for the society.
Absolutely. I think given the nature of each one of our lifestyles today, I
Mm,
think this is probably the need of the hour as well, right? Because few days maybe we are just sitting in the office and not moving around, sedentary lifestyles. Some days maybe we are just going to the gym and like hitting hard. The, like how do somebody should
mhm,
keep us in check to say that hey, are you doing? It
mhm.
can be it's typically the mothers who are taking care of the children in the family and saying that are you eating
Right.
the right food, uh, are you exercising properly, are you eating unhealthy food? So this can become kind of that
Mm.
motherly touch.
Yes, yes, to keep you in check. And yeah, definitely.
Well, I mean, I think that was pretty interesting, and we discussed different domains. Quickly want to move to a couple of other things. So in this whole journey, right? So I mean, from when you started Figure, what has been some of the like lessons that you learned hard way that people can learn from this and say that, I don't want to have to relearn the lesson, or you guys don't need to learn the lessons that we did.
Mhm. I think the first one definitely is the problem validation that we spoke about earlier. The second one, which comes close to me, is that we have practiced very well at Figure is this whole cycle of build, measure, and iterate. Uh, what that means is you keep, like, you build, you measure. Like when we say measure, you take it out in front of users. Maybe you do a quantitative analysis, how users are using it, and you quickly see how users are perceiving your product. And then you quickly iterate, you understand what needs to be changed, and you then build it and you do that again. And the saying is that you do that enough times, you get to PMF. Like you build a product that market actually wants, it's selling, it's actually usable, and people are deriving value out of it. Some companies might need 10 cycles of it. Some companies might do it with a 5 cycle of it. But like up until you find like a true value prop that users are resonating with, and you are able to use the product well, you keep on iterating it as fast as possible. So just having an awareness that you're on that build, measure, iterate loop, and you have to keep on iterating and iterating, get measuring with users, and keep on building. That process needs to follow. It's very, very process driven, and that is something I feel uh, is something we learned the hard way. And now we're doing it at Figure very, very consciously. Like in my previous startup, we did not follow that, but from day zero at Figure, we've been doing that.
So that's actually very powerful, because what you're saying is, don't wait until like 6 months, 1 year, until you reach where you are satisfied. So you build, go to the customer or like who the end user is, get feedback, then iterate, and then keep
Yes.
moving fast.
Yes, yes, yes. So even the first version can be very, very simple, but you need to keep doing that, the whole 3 step process. Like you cannot get, as you said, you cannot get stuck in the build process. You cannot get stuck in the measure process. And many times we see that people get stuck in the iterate process. We're just thinking that what can be built, but they're not building, they're not measuring, talking to users. So you have to keep doing that, all the 3 things, and you have to close the loop again and again.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I mean, I was reading about the co-founder for LinkedIn. So he was saying, we always had before launching LinkedIn, we always thought that bringing contractors on board for LinkedIn is the most important thing for for LinkedIn to be launched. But when we actually
Mm,
launched, that was not something that people really cared about. So
mm,
it kind of doubles down on your point that build, get feedback, and iterate.
mm,
Excellent. So finding co-founder, people say that it's almost like getting married. It's a lot of effort. So how did you find, and how did you know that Chirag was the right person, and you were right for each other rather? How did that happen?
I think uh, my take on it is like one is a bit more qualitative. That is, the trust needs to be there before anything else. That trust needs to be there, like between co-founders. If I am uh, expecting Chirag to do a job in the company, I trust him to do. Like I know that he will give his all. He will do the best possible version of it, and he will get it done no matter what. And the same goes the other way around. I think the trust needs to be there between the founders a lot, because there's so many things that you'll be banking on. There's so many decisions that you'll be taking together. Uh, so that we have really good going. The other part I feel is more around complementary skill set. Like we complement each other really, really well. Together, we are able to cover almost all the 360-degree. Uh, I'm not good in the AI research part, even making the process like I'm more of a product person making and more of a marketing design person. So I'm able to take those front, but the process of building product, process of coordinating with engineers, actually coding it out, and making it lean, making sure we are on the right track and building the product in a very disciplined way. That is where Chirag comes in. So both of us are able to complement the energies that we have, and we are able to cover the 360 degree. That is something that, uh, like, even before starting up, I was looking for that someone who can complement me. I don't want to start with someone like me, because then there would not be, challenge. And it's not just the skill set part, it's also, I think, the nature also needs to be a bit complementary. Someone can go out and imagine, let's say, what can be, but then the other person is grounded and actually is, able to run it out. So these energies needs to be complemented a lot. The way that we operate is also a bit complementary in nature, which works really well because we have a lot of good discussion, we have a lot of good debates on what can be built. We challenge each other a lot. We definitely at times get into arguments, but these are very constructive debates that we have for the betterment of the company. And that helps a lot because you get another pair of eyes, another pair of brain to challenge your thoughts. Because many times you go into this maker's bias when you're working on it, when you're working too deep into a product or in your startup as well. So having someone challenge your biases is very, very important. And that is where a good self-aware founder comes in.
So how do you navigate disagreements, and like tough
Mm,
decisions? Like, we have to make this decision. Like, how do you guys
mm,
navigate through that?
right. I think we prioritize uh, long-term success over short-term gratification. Like if, let's say, right now, if there is a decision we need to make, it might be okay in the short term. It might, reap some rewards, maybe some instant revenue, or maybe some instant traction. But in the long term, would it be fruitful? Would it be something that is aligning with our mission and the vision of why we're doing Figure? Um, like if everything, like if it's in a stuck, this is something which always helps take the decision that how it will pan out in the long term. And definitely when we, even when we have a debate, we generally uh, keep our egos, keep our personal biases aside. We like I'm lucky that we are both self-aware enough that when we are having a debate or an argument, we make sure that it is betterment for the company, not for the sake of winning an argument. And
Mhm.
that is something which is very, very important. Just having that sheer self-awareness.
Got it. Yeah. So for somebody who wants to build a startup, like right now, because of Shark Tank, everybody, like a lot of, not everybody, I would say a lot of people want to start a company.
Mhm.
It's become the new fad. What would be I mean, why should somebody start a company and not just go and work for a bigger, like
Mhm.
would say like a bigger enterprise or whatever, right?
Right. I think first of all, that's very like a very good thing happening where a lot more people want to start enterprises and businesses. It's actually a very good thing for the Indian economy. But at the same time, I would say startups are not for everyone. There's so much that people go through when you run a startup. There's so many decisions, so many context switching, so many things you need to do. So and like many a times your personal work-life balance will hinder. Many times you don't find time for anything else. Very, very long hours. So I think the answer to your question, like why someone should start up, comes from the passion and the desire to change the world. If you have that, if you truly have that, then you should do that. If your reasons are somewhat like, let's say you want to make a quick buck, you want to, get famous or something. I think those are short-term gratification that won't work out when you're in the middle of the night, 3 year, 4 years down the line. You will start questioning why am I doing this? But if you're attached to changing the world, and you actually want to make a change out there, then it will always keep you motivated. So I think that is why you should start up. Another way to look at it is we were saying that like two types of founders. One who is in love with the idea, with the problem, and one who is in love with the idea of solving problems. So it's like there are two different parts. One is any person, like they're attached with that single idea. They're so passionate about solving for this one particular problem, and they're willing to spend their whole life on solving that one problem. It could be space exploration, it could be, let's say, revamping the banking industry, it could be any one problem. But then there are other type of founders who, you can give any problem to, and they just want to solve any problem, but they love solving problems. You also need to understand in what category do you fall. Are you just starting out because you like solving problems, or is it that this one idea is something that you just cannot get your head out of? You have to solve this. And if the first category comes in, definitely you should start it because you have that deep passion. The second one is also quite exciting, where you love solving problems, but you also need to understand why are you solving this problem then? Like there are hundreds of problems you could solve. Then what prompted you to start this particular problem? So these are some of the questions that if you are starting up now, you should ask yourself. Uh, but that deep passion and desire to change the world, the society needs to be there because all rest, like all the other reasons go away, but that motivation, that passion never goes away. That stays with you.
So you should have a deeper calling to start a company. Otherwise, you're saying think twice or think 10 times
Yes.
before starting a company.
And even if you do, you should be self-aware to fail fast. I think that's a very, very good saying out there, which even I took some time to realize. Like if even if you've started up or if you're thinking of startup, have a realization that 99% of them fail or 90% of them fail, like majority of them. So fail fast because it's natural. You might not get it right the first time. There's so many things to learn, so many things to do. So uh, adapt and quickly move on to the next problem that you might seem fit.
So what would be a like when you say fail fast, like what is a good timeline somebody should look at? Mm, I mean, you've done this before.
That's
That's why I'm asking you.
that's very contextual. I don't think I should put a number on it. Like any number would not be right number. Uh, I think there are ways to invalidate a problem. So it's a pro just a, so it's a process where you know whatever problem you're solving, let's say you understand it from users, you build some version of solving it. It could be a product, a service, anything. It could be manual. You again go back to people and understand whether it is solving or not. The moment you realize it's not worth solving or it's not a big enough problem or an urgent problem, that is where you've invalidated the problem and you move on. Now, for some ideas, it could take years. For some, it can be done in weeks. So it's very hard to put a number on, a timeline on it.
So you're saying so when you're working on the problem, you probably know it when to put an end to it and then move on to the next one.
Yeah, definitely. And it's very contextual from industry to industry, from the size of the problem, it changes a lot.
Cool. Like, I mean, so now, I mean, we talked a lot about figures, right? Like what you guys are doing right now. How did it start? So where do you see it the next 3 to 5 years? Where do you want Figure to be? How do you imagine things to be for the company?
I think we want, like, the ultimate vision is to enable people to build better experiences. That is something, that we want to move towards. That building good experiences should be very quick, should be democratized. We see that there's so many different roles out there, developers, designers, product managers, UX researchers. We want to sort of help blur that line and creator, maker out of it. That people who has an intent, a will to change the world, they can change it. They can actually build and execute and ship the product out there. That is the ultimate vision we have, and we're moving towards that where uh, like there are two sides to it. I think the CEO of Figma calls it like lowering the ceiling, where now more and more people can build good products. But at the same time, you're also raising the ceiling. That is the extent to which you can build a good product, a great product. So a definition of great will also become higher, higher. You can build even better products. So that is where we are also heading towards with the AI invention, like the whole AI introduction here.
So with you're saying with Figma, people were able to build faster. You're saying with Figure, they'll be able to build better user experiences faster.
Yes.
Would that be right
Yes.
to say?
And yes, and more people will be able to do that. I think what Canva did for non-graphic designers, like anyone can now create a brochure or something. Similarly, more people can do that as well.
Got it. So would it be right to say that designers will become super designers and non-designers will get to a mediocre level or a basic design or a good design?
That's a really good way to say. I think designers becoming super designers, non-designers becoming designers. Yeah.
So that is Figure. So that's a great punchline that we just came up with on the fly. Uh,
Mhm.
that's good. Um, so I think finally, is there a question that you wanted me to ask that I did not ask you, or we just covered everything?
I think we covered most of it. It was a very good and chatting conversation. We covered from early childhood to I think the BITS experience, previous startup, even what we're doing at Figure, why we're doing it. Really enjoyed the conversation. Most of the questions we covered, even the new exciting startup ideas that can be built that have on your mind. Yeah.
So, I mean, let's say if somebody somebody wants to try out Figure, who would be an ideal customer, or rather somebody who can come to the website, sign up, and they want to give it a shot? Like, who would be the
Mhm.
right ones to try it out?
Right. We generally help product managers and product designers to help them ship faster. Currently, the version that we have, most people or who will be most successful with the product would be teams who are working at somewhat growth stage level, probably at a Series A or Series B level, where they are already working on complex products and they're finding it difficult to keep up with the pace. They're finding it difficult to roll out features quickly, and they're not completely satisfied with the user experience they have right now.
Got it. So, startups with on Series A and B, you know where to find good user experience, and figure it out with Figure.
Mhm. Yes,
Cool. So, how should people reach out to you if they want to say hi? And is there something channel that you recommend?
yes, definitely. I'm mostly active on LinkedIn. You can find me there. And I think there also I've written down my email address. I read almost all the emails, so you can drop me an email anytime. And fairly active on Twitter as well, so you can drop me a DM there.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Moksh. I think it was a great conversation. I truly learned a lot about the whole design industry. It's very new to me,
Mhm.
but really enjoyed the conversation. Learned a lot about the whole design, and
Mhm.
and for people who want to try out, I've seen the demo of Figure. It's very fascinating, um,
Mhm.
and maybe we'll do another separate session going through deep diving the use cases someday. Would love to hear
Definitely.
more
Mhm.
feedback from the audience regarding what kind of demos they want to see, what situations and like
Mhm.
scenarios and workflows they want to see, and we can dive deeper into that. in the next session.
for,
But
for sure.
truly enjoyed. Thank you for taking the time. I know you're very, very busy, and
Yeah.
building a company is not easy.
Mm. Thank you so much for having me, Rohit. I really enjoyed the conversation. It went through different domains and different parts. I think very rarely in this busy life we get to sit and actually talk about what all is happening well, what are the thoughts about these parts. Uh, Thank you for sort of prompting me to think about these things. I really loved the conversation. Thank you so much.